Weather forecasters have predicted the snowiest and coldest winter in decades. You still have training goals. The training must go on. How can you do it safely? All right, so in today's episode of Coach Quip, we are talking about how to stay warm, stay dry, and stay safe in your ultimate guide to winter running.
First up, staying warm. I definitely had to plan some of this current week that we're filming. So, we want you to definitely start slow and use a dynamic warm-up. This is all the same stuff we actually say in the summer too, right? But we want you to be truly warm before you hit the pavement. Cold muscles means tighter, they're stiffer, frankly, they're more injury prone, and they're just more uncomfortable. Like it's not fun to just go out and be like, I'm cold, right? Doing a quick dynamic warm-up, you like leg swings, squats, hip openers, things that you should be doing anyway, is really going to make sure that you head out the door a little warmer than you would have been, which again is helpful for your muscles, but also it's just kind of more comfortable. Important to do these even on your easy days, right? So not just doing it as you head out before speed or long, but having this kind of priming so that when you do head out, your body's already warmed up. It doesn't take long, right? After you start though, we want you to start out always 5 to 10 minutes, truly easy pace. That gentle shuffling energy is what, even slower than easy AF. It's going to help you warm up even more gradually. It's gonna help your low legs specifically and your knees to be like, oh, this is what we're doing. It's also gonna help you figure out footing. So starting slow and doing a dynamic warm up.
Next up is dressing like it's 20 degrees warmer and considering the wind chill. So the classic winter running rule is to dress like it's 20 degrees warmer than it actually is. So meaning if it's 35 degrees outside, you should be dressing like it's 55. The idea is that you will be probably chilly in the first 2 minutes if you're doing it right. First 2 minutes as you're doing that gentle shuffle and warming up, but you will get to the spot where you are warm. If you're dressing like it's 35 degrees outside and you go for a run in 35
don't get too toasty.
Weather, yeah, you're in for it. That's how to think about the temperature, but you also have to factor in the wind chill. So the wind chill can really make runs miserable, and it's something that can kind of sneak up on us. So as an added factor, you want to consider that wind chill factor and add a light core layer or make sure that your external layer is windproof.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I think too, using the wind is helpful with this too, especially if it's on a really cold wind chill day. So if you have an out and back, like say you live in Chicago at the lakefront path, right? We always want to do the first part of that run going into the wind and the second part of that run with the wind at our back, right? So that we're using it and we're not having to fight the wind when we're our most fatigued.
I believe we did a whole episode about running in the wind
we will
link in the comments below.
Next up is layering like a pro. I know that you've heard this one before, but it could stand repeating. So your base layer, we want synthetic or merino, any type of material that is going to keep you warm but not stay wet. Never cotton. Cotton is not your friend. It is going to get wet, stay wet and soggy, and make you cold. The middle layer, we want something light and thermal. What do you do for middle layer?
Middle layer is usually a waffle, like one of the Nike waffle shirts.
Yeah, I do love a waffle. You're right. I do a vest, but not a super thick vest, but something that's going to keep that core.
So is your base layer long sleeve?
Yep. My base layer is long sleeve, merino wool, a purple V-neck Nike that I have had forever, and it just keeps on giving.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is once you get these pieces, they last a long time. So it is truly an investment in getting those good pieces that you can wear throughout the winter.
Also, a great time to ask for some of these pieces for the holidays.
That's
so
right.
if you are like, what do I ask for? If you are missing one of these, that is something. And then every time I take a picture of it and I send it to whoever gave it to me, like for 10 years, they've been getting the same picture, but they know I'm still using it. All right, next up is your outer layer. This one's really important because it's really what is shielding you from the elements. So we want windproof, water resistant. For all those like chunky, puffy coats, I know I look at mine in the morning sometimes, I'm like, ooh, it would be nice to put that on. But that is not your friend when you are running, right? It is going to really not do what it needs to do from a wind standpoint. If you're standing still, great, or walking, great, but for moving, we really want that outer layer to have those windproof and water resistant properties.
Next up is making sure that your head and your hands are warm. So most of your heat escapes through your head. So everybody knows that, caps or hats or your little winter beanie is a good idea, because if you get too warm, it's very easy to take that off, right? And vent a little bit of that heat. We want to think about hat or at least ear warmers if it's below 45 degrees. And that's just kind of a safety standpoint. We don't want frostbite on our earlobes or on other parts of our bodies. So that's a good idea. Mittens are warmer than gloves. Don't at me. They're cute.
They're definitely better. Or I was running with a runner yesterday that had on running gloves, but then she had on a mitten shield on top of it. And I was like, well, that's smart. Right. If you keep your fingers together, I want them to make socks as good as they make mittens, because I feel like mittens keep your hands so warm because everything's all together.
In theory, your socks should
I know, but they just don't. Yeah. I don't know. Get on that, manufacturers.
So if you're somebody whose hands always freeze, you might also want to consider heated gloves or some sort of hand warmers, those little packets that you can slip in, or I actually have a reusable one.
Oh yeah, I've seen those that I recharge.
That I can hold. Yep. Yeah. Because that is a game changer for these winter months.
One extra stay warm hack too. Pre-warm your gear, right? So if you have hats, gloves, this is also a nice incentive when you're getting out of bed, is to pre-warm it so that you know when you put it on and you head out, you have that extra barrier. I just leave like my socks that I'm gonna wear for the day on our floor vent. And then when I put them on, not only am I like, whoa, but then I'm like nice and toasty going into my shoes.
All right, so those are the ways to stay warm. Now let's talk about the ways to stay dry, which is very important in staying warm.
Yeah, because you got to stay dry to stay warm. As soon as you get wet, that bad things happen.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, fabric matters. We do not want a cotton layer on our skin because that is just going to absorb your sweat and soak you, which leads to cold chills and really bad situation out there. So the best investment that you can make in winter running gear is going to be I would say 2 investments, a good base layer.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then that strong outer layer that's going to help shield you from the elements, but also that wind chill. And this is something that, not all running jackets are created equally. We want to make sure that they can still vent, right? Because you don't want, I have a great external layer that is a barrier to the wind and to the elements, but it does not vent.
Yep.
And
do you have pit zips?
Anytime that I wear it, I am just a steamy mess inside.
Yeah, you get so wet. Yeah.
So, it's almost as bad as just being snowed on or letting the wind hit you.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that.
So you have to make sure that, as you just said, pit zippers, so they can vent here, maybe a slash around the back.
Yep.
Right? And just a good front zip so that you can zip down when you need to vent a little air. And really, you should be thinking about that as you're running, kind of just playing with that.
Yeah, cooling off, warming up, yeah.
Right.
Next up, footwear and socks. Dry feet equals happy feet. Let me repeat that. You do not want wet feet, which is why you also don't want to wear cotton socks here either. So lug shoes, let's start with the out part. Lug shoes are your best friend. I love trail shoes, like the Peg Trail is one of my favorite shoes because it really helps you get some grip without being super, super heavy. Because luggy shoes, lugs are what's on the bottom of your shoe, right? So you want it like chunky and textured to have better ground presence. They also typically have a weather resistance portion to it. So maybe the toe is covered, with some type of rubber flap, or the whole dang thing is Gore-Tex, which is also great. For socks, go merino, go wool again here too. They're warm, but not so thick that they're gonna trap sweat. I personally like wool cycling socks because they also come up a little higher on the ankle because I cannot stand a cold ankle. Pro move too is if it's slushy, put a little bit of Vaseline on the top of your toes. Is gonna create like a water resistant barrier and gonna keep them warmer as you go through the miles.
So the Vaseline or Aquaphor is a good tip on the toes. It also goes into our next hack, which is about your skin and your face. So you can use Aquaphor or Vaseline to create a little layer of protection on your cheeks, your chin, your nose, your lips, like all of the places that might get wind chapped if you're outside on those brisk days. We also need to remember that the sun is actually a lot stronger in the winter as the UV rays are bouncing off of the snow. So you have to remember things like sunglasses and sunscreen, which I know I'm guilty of. Sunscreen for me is a sometimes in the summer thing. Oh, I know.
I am Swedish, so it is an everyday thing, and I have some on now.
Even inside the house.
Even inside.
Yeah, so we definitely want to be thinking about sunscreen and the UV protection that you need.
After your run, we got to get out of our wet stuff, right? We always have that. I have to tell runners this all the time especially when they're driving somewhere or racing in the suburbs or being on trail. I'm like, you need to bring a whole change of clothes, because having things on you after not only is not super sanitary, but it really activates your core temperature going down rapidly. And the fact that you're not moving anymore is going to make everything drop and feel very, very cold. It includes the big three, right? I liked these big three.
Yeah.
These were good.
Yeah.
Your top, your bottom, and your socks. And don't forget about that sports bra. For me, if I have to pick one thing personally to take off post-run, it is my sports bra. It's always going to be the wettest, and it's going to be the closest to my skin. So if I can get out of it and get something dry on instantly, is going to make me a lot more comfortable. If you, again, are commuting after your runs, like with our Sunday or Saturday morning trail runs, keep a bag in your clothes in your car that you know that you can get back into, that are, I call them my oh shit clothes, or like I have a trail bag and it has just like an extra bra, top, bottom, socks, just in case. And that way, you know, you always have some, or maybe your friend needs one and you can go and give a little sharing. Last big chunk here, staying safe. It is a big thing. Safety is a big thing in the winter. You have a lot of different variables. You can feel like a real badass out there, but you got to plan. First up, traction stability. You saw this one coming. It's incredibly important because winter can be really slippery. I know that this week, the week that we're recording, areas that I thought would be okay were not okay. The 606, even though we looked at it the night before, that next morning, because of the moisture in the air, it was just so incredibly ice patchy. I would say 10% was runnable, like without ice. Yeah, we were having to just go. Yep. So trail shoes help 100%, but for icy days, you know, grabbing things like micro spikes or slip-on traction devices, they're really going to help make a difference, and they can be, especially the micro versions of these things, can make a really big difference. I like using them primarily out on trail. And then picking routes that you know are ready, right? So plowed, salted routes over scenic trails. You can even sometimes get on Reddit or get on Facebook for the groups and get like real-time statuses. I know with our trail systems, you can get on camber.org, CAMBR.org, and they'll tell you exactly how all of the single and multi-tracks are in the Palo system. So save all those really pretty routes for spring when you know that you're going to have footing. But, you know, you also might, spoiler alert, need to adjust your workout. Like yesterday, we went out for our intensity run. As soon as we got up to the 606, I think I wasn't even like 0.1 in, and I'm like, all right, audible, we're doing 40 minutes of moving time. Like there's just no way you can run safely. And I'm one to kind of press those boundaries, but even I was like, absolutely not. This is going to be junk.
Yeah, I almost busted my ass walking from my car here.
Oh, so, excellent.
It is quite icy, and you can't always see it, which is the issue.
Yeah,
right? So,
and you're especially in the dark, which we're going to get to next with visibility and light. But in the dark, I also very much have a problem seeing. I can identify it at first, but there were times yesterday morning before sunrise where we're like, is that ice?
Yeah.
Is it? And half the time we were right and half the time we were wrong, and that is the problem.
You're safer to assume that it is.
Yes.
So along those lines of visibility and light, that's what we want to be thinking about next in terms of staying safe. Winter just means fewer daylight hours, so it is a highly probable situation that you'll be doing some outdoor runs in the dark either before or after work. So wearing reflective gear and lights, maybe blinking lights, there are the vests that have the lights, or just a clip-on like cycling light, to make sure that you are being seen. You just have to assume as a runner that people are not seeing you and behave in a way that keeps yourself safe.
Even if you see a car, and I say this over and over and over, like when I see a car, I trust no driver.
Yep.
I trust no cyclist with our runners, because even if they aren't on their phones or distracted, they might have frost, they might have snow, they might be looking at their phone, right? They might have poor visibility in their car. They are not assuming, hey, there might be a runner out here when it's 15 degrees out. Right. That is not in their realm of possibility. So just assume that.
Yeah. And then another thing that you could do is use a headlamp or even a flashlight, a waist lamp, whatever, to light your way so that you are being seen, but also maybe you can see the ice and snow a little bit better. One tip on this for both your phone and any devices that you're bringing out: cold weather sucks the battery down a lot faster, so just make sure that your devices are fully charged before you go out. Next up is your buff strategy and breathing. So wearing a buff around your neck, which is just like that little tube of fabric, is a pro tip, I think, a huge one. I was double buffing this week. I like to have two of them, one to protect my neck and just keep the heat in my jacket. The second one to pull up and down if I want to. Not that I want to cover up this beautiful mustache, but It's actually really bad for winter running.
Yeah, I can imagine. Are you inhaling it at some point? You're just like I like to cut my hair short in the winter. You keep it tight.
But we definitely want to make sure that we are feeling comfortable when we're breathing. So if you find that taking in the cold air is feeling rough for you, you can use a buff to kind of filter and heat that air a little bit. I mean, it's not really heating the air. It just feels a little different when you're using it. So play around with that.
Next up is checking in and just having a route plan, right? Knowing your options. So when the weather's really gnarly, keeping it to loops, especially if you have a longer effort. All you spring half and full marathoners, I'm looking at you. When things get gnarly, make it a shorter loop instead of a giant out and back so that you can know you're never too far from home if you need to switch anything out. Also helps with nutrition. This is a big thing because if you're going longer, you're going to need water, electrolytes, calories, and spoiler alert, the fountains are not on, right? So you need to have an option to refill, and those shorter loops are going to check a lot of boxes. The next thing is to let someone know your general route or time window, just in case. I know in my household, when I go out, and if it's just me, I'll just make sure that my sharing location is on with Brian. Yep. I'll tell him what I think I'm doing, but then I'm also like, you might just want to check on me, because sometimes what you think you're going to do, the conditions have changed so much that you're like, well, that did not work. And I'm in fact, 4 streets over.
Right. And the last thing to consider is indoor-outdoor hybrid days. So I think running outside in the winter is totally badass, but sometimes you have a key workout that you want to get done and the conditions aren't right for it. So use your tools. I know a lot of people have negative feelings about the treadmill, but it is a great training tool, especially in the winter. So, not every run needs to be fully outside. You could do a hybrid of some outdoor miles and finish on a treadmill if you have access to a gym or a treadmill at home. You could also just fully move your workout indoors, or, use your plan and swap around days if you know that the weather's going to be better earlier in the week and snow is predicted later. Maybe you talk with your coach or look at your plan and swap a key run to the time when you have better conditions outside.
2 more things on that. One, for those of you who have slid on over to CrossFit 6 Points, we have brought over Juanita the Woodway. So she is hopefully up and running, and you can, I think it's first come, first serve, but she is there. The other thing that I think more people are doing are indoor tracks too. So we have options at DePaul. I know you can get a day pass there. The ComEd Center, which I think is like very cheap during their open hours. I'm talking like $5 to drop in and run. It is a kind of a square track, but it totally works. And then UFC has options as well. So that's another kind of third option if you need to get, especially intensity runs in, and you just really hate that tread.
All right, so those are our tips for your ultimate guide to winter running, to stay warm, to stay dry, and to stay safe out there.
If you have more tips that we missed, pop them in the comments. We want to hear them.